They fined me $450 for unauthorized grass height, even though I'd mowed 48 hours earlier, on camera, mind you. When I appealed, the HOA president called the cops, claiming I'd trespassed in my own yard. The officer's body cam caught the moment she realized who I was. Welcome to HOA Disputed. You know how some stories grab you by the collar in the first 5 minutes? This one did. I'm Eric Nolan, a federal attorney out of Arlington, Virginia, and if you've ever had a neighbor with a clipboard threaten your peace, you're going to feel right at home here. The morning it all really kicked off was thick and sticky, the kind of humid that clings to your shirt before the coffee even kicks in. My wife had left at dawn for her nursing shift, so it was just me and the hydrangeas, Lily's first grown-up project. She's 12, way too wise for her age, and probably the main reason I've never thrown in the towel and moved like half the block. I want her to grow up seeing that fairness isn't just silence dressed up nice. That day, I pulled a plain envelope from the mailbox, HOA logo stamped on it like a warning. Not a newsletter about mailbox colors. No, this was a $450 fine, plus a threat. Further noncompliance may result in lien placement. No signature, no date. Just that bureaucratic smugness only a petty tyrant could print. Of course, I called the number on the notice and got Marilyn Croft, the HOA president, 6 years running, voice like sandpaper. She sneered, "You people think rules are optional because of your title." As if being a federal attorney meant I was above mowing the lawn. I told her that, actually, data mattered. She just laughed. "You'll learn how things work here, Mr. Nolan." Then, click. That phrase, "how things work here," stuck with me. I've spent over a decade fighting government overreach, but hearing it from a neighbor who just happened to wield a gavel did something different to me. It wasn't anger. It was this sharp curiosity that felt like duty. And that's when things started getting weird. The next week, a cop shows up for a wellness check, anonymous tip that I was yelling at my daughter. Then I get 2 citations for visible trash cans, even though mine are behind the fence. Now every notice has Marilyn's signature, blue ink like she's proud of it. One day, I'm out front, taking photos for my records, and Jim, my retired lineman neighbor, shuffles over, hands me a thermos of coffee bitter as regret. "You're not the first," he says. "Marilyn fined me for my truck, called it industrial equipment. Sold it. She found something else." That stuck with me all night as I sifted through the closing documents. The plat said 8,740 square feet, lot 32, recorded in Fairfax County under number 2090-711-2987. HOA rules talked about a 5-foot common property maintenance easement along each lot. That was key. She'd accused me of trespassing, but the property line and easement were right there in the deed. So, next morning, I'm out there with a survey tape and my phone camera. Every inch matches the county record. No violation. If you ever need to know, in Virginia, HOAs have to enforce covenants uniformly and can't fine outside the recorded easement. Look up Hall 55.11819. Selective enforcement? That's grounds to toss any fine. I put everything together: photos, timestamps, mower receipts, old habits from court cases. During Lily's soccer practice, another police cruiser creeps by. Same officer, apologetic. Another call: "You're allegedly removing HOA property markers." I point to my yard camera. Recording 24/7. "Wanna see?" He laughs. "Already saw it. Protocol, you know." Even the cops were starting to see the pattern. That night, under the whir of the fridge light, I dug into HOA annual reports online. Budgets, reserve studies. They'd spent $18,400 on legal consults last year. Weird for a community with 0 lawsuits. Someone was hiding mistakes with our dues. Somewhere in all those stapled pages, I realized I wasn't just defending my yard. I was defending my right to live without getting bossed around by a neighbor in a bad mood. So I opened a fresh legal pad, wrote "pattern" across the top, and started a log. Every date, every call, every letter. Because to dismantle a power trip, you don't start with rage. You start with receipts. By the 3rd page, I could see a rhythm. Every false report, every bogus violation, all timed right before board meetings. I sent quiet records requests. County clerk, HOA management, playing dumb homeowner. 2 days later, I get a voicemail from Trevor Sands, the property manager, nervous as a cat in a dog park. "Mr. Nolan, the HOA financials you requested are internal. I'll need board authorization. I call him back, cite the statute. Owners have inspection rights. Pause. Let me check with counsel. Click. That's when I knew they're hiding something. At the next board meeting, I sat in back. Marilyn's lipstick matched the no recording sign on the podium. We'll begin with covenant enforcement, she said, sugary over the mic. Certain residents continue to disregard maintenance standards. She glared right at me. When the floor opened, I stood. Could you cite the authority for HOA off-property surveillance? She stammered. Neighborhood watch. I smiled. Then you'll have permits, right? She shuffled her papers. That's not relevant. It will be, especially if you're filming private lots. Afterward, Mrs. Rayburn, an elderly neighbor, touched my sleeve. You're brave. They sent my husband letters about the landscaping fund. He just stopped going. Her eyes were tired, but that settled it. This wasn't a feud, it was systematic bullying. Next afternoon, I mailed a certified demand for records and CC'd the County Consumer Protection Office. 10 days to comply. On day 7, a new violation. Porch lamp too bright. I checked, 60 watts, limit 75. Jim stopped by, shaking his head. They're circling the wagons. You sure you want to keep fighting? I don't start fights, I said. I finish paperwork. He smirked, then warned me. Marilyn's got zoning board friends. I filed that away. Next day, I noticed a maintenance truck by the gate. Ashbrook Services LLC. License plate VHF 0298. A quick search, registered agent? Marilyn Croft. Same P.O. box as the HOA. She was contracting with her own company. Classic conflict of interest. In most states, that's illegal if undisclosed. A few days later, another cop visit, different guy? Sir, call about you threatening an HOA volunteer. I nodded at his body cam. You'll want this on record. Want to see my porch light? He smirked. Paperwork gone wild. After he left, Trevor called. Marilyn wants your voting rights suspended. See you at the special session. I replied, already planning my next move. Quick question for you. Are you anti-HOA or just anti-abuse? Ever fought one? Drop your survival tactics below. And if you're on a board yourself, go ahead, defend your policies. Let's see who shows up. That night, I drafted a certified agenda request for the next meeting. Open meeting law, 10-day notice. Then I dug deeper. Land records, 2 common parcels. The pond was properly deeded, but the clubhouse and pool never transferred from the developer. That meant the HOA didn't legally own their own headquarters. My pen stopped mid-note. No ownership, no authority. Next morning, at the county office, I got the proof, original filings, maps, signatures. Parcel 17B, the clubhouse, blank transferee. Still owned by Ashbrook Development LLC, dissolved since 2015. That was leverage. I met my attorney friend Jenna Morales at a diner. She scanned the papers, let out a low whistle. They're enforcing rules on land they don't own. That's exposure. Civil, maybe criminal. I told her I wanted reform, not arrests, yet. I tested them, installing a second camera, visible, within my easement. Within 2 days, Marilyn emailed, demanding removal for community decorum. I replied, citing state law. Cameras stay. Enemies are optional. Accountability isn't. That was the end of civility. HOA Facebook lit up. Posts about problem residents. Screenshots started hitting my inbox. Neighbors warning me. Jim stopped by? You poked the hive, pal. Sometimes, I said. You let the hive reveal the queen. Then Jenna called. Those developer assets had gone to a Richmond trust, meaning I could quietly buy the parcel. For $1,300 and a signature. Brookfield Heritage Trust, an entity I already controlled. No one knew. Not yet. Later, Lily wandered in, curled beside me. Dad, are you fighting them again? I said, just keeping records. She nodded. Mom says people like that only win if you stop showing up. Out of the mouths of 12-year-olds. Next meeting, I tucked a camera in my jacket, sat near the front. Marilyn opened with, disciplinary actions. I interrupted. Madam President, can you confirm the HOA's ownership of this facility? She blustered. Of course, it's in our deed. I laid down a certified copy of the county record. Reconcile that with this. Gasps in the room. Parcel 17B, ownership retained by Ashbrook Development LLC, dissolved 2015. No transfer. You're operating outside your jurisdiction. She tried to laugh it off, but I pressed. Maintenance doesn't equal title. Collecting dues for property you don't own is misappropriation. I let it hang. Trevor, the manager, turned pale. The fight shifted from defense to offense. Ever find out something that flipped the script? Did you hold it close or go public? Drop your answer. I'm curious. Silence reigned for a week, Marilyn doubling down. More violations, mailbox, curb edging, each photographed, cataloged. She started CCing board members, violating open meeting rules. Every reply all, another nail in her own coffin. The trust finalized. I became legal owner of Parcel 17B. Visual. Under porch light, I slid the certified deed into a fireproof box, latch clicking like a verdict. Jim caught me, grinning. Heard you're going to the special session. They're calling it community stabilization. I laughed. Stabilization means panic. Panic means they know. Jenna texted. Don't reveal full ownership until they commit a procedural error. Sure enough, the session notice arrived, dated 2 days earlier, violating the 7-day rule. I printed it, highlighted the date. Session night. 30 neighbors, more than ever. Marilyn bluffed. Chronic noncompliance. She introduced a motion to suspend my voting rights. I objected, citing statute. She ignored me. I laid down the deed. Proceed, and you're voting on property you don't own. This time, a county inspector stepped up, Jenna's idea. For the record, Mr. Nolan's documents check out. No lawful venue until ownership resolved. That was the sound of power shifting. Neighbors thanked me. One elderly man, trembling, said, "You made them listen." Outside, rain started again. Marilyn hurried to her car, phone glued to her ear, outmatched. What about you? Where should HOA's power end? At the curb, your porch, your lawn? Let me know. That's what decides if communities thrive or fracture. The next move was desperate. A letter under my door. No signature, just HOA letterhead. Notice of investigation. Unauthorized occupation. They were accusing me of trespassing on my own land. I photographed everything, sealed it in a zip bag for evidence. Lily, bleary-eyed, wandered in. They're bothering you again? Not bothering. Training. I joked. Later, a friendly code officer came by. Your HOA's alleging unpermitted use. I showed him the deed. I'll mark it resolved. 2 hours later, the HOA's Facebook. Attorney Nolan seizing public property. Neighbors split. I screenshot, archived, and sent it to Jenna. Her reply. Perfect. They're digging their own hole. Then came the cease and desist order, demanding I remove obstructions from the parcel, my own lawn chairs. I wrote back. Any further interference is trespass. Govern yourselves accordingly. That quiet internal click, you know when the plan is about to land. Still, the harassment continued. Another wellness check, late at night. Officer saw my recorder, apologized. Just procedure. I sat on the couch, staring at the battered red folder. Fatigue, not anger, washed over me. I thought of my late brother, who lost his home to a condo board. I'd promised at his funeral, never let bureaucracy crush a family if I could stop it. The next morning, the street was quiet. I stared out the window, coffee cooling. HOA sign still on the clubhouse I now owned. If you were me, would you go to court or buy reform with leverage? Where's your line? That weekend, I color-coded all the records, blue for notices, green for letters, red for deeds. Jenna and I planned. Push them into a final mistake and call the cops on their own meeting. They took the bait. Emergency board session, no agenda, no notice, just a smug Facebook post that morning. I showed up suited, ready for court. Marilyn at the front, new security consultants by her side. She declared, "We're here to address an unlawful property claim." I pulled out the deed. "You're referring to a recorded and notarized deed, correct?" She snapped, "Fraudulent. You can't just buy what belongs to everyone." I slid over the county parcel map, showing her own P.O. box as the dissolved developer's address. "You've been invoicing from a defunct entity for 6 years." She threatened to call the police. I said, "Please do." Jenna arrived, folder in hand. "We're here lawfully. Keep recording." Officer shows up, body cam blinking. "Got a report of trespass?" She points at me. I hand him the deed. He glances, then turns to her. "Ma'am, this property lists under Brookfield Heritage Trust. You might want to step outside before you make a false report." Her face drains. Outside, the rain streaked down the windows. Police lights flickered. The officer, almost smiling, says, "It's paperwork, not criminal. Keep it civil." Marilyn tried to adjourn. I stopped her. "You can resign quietly, or we can proceed publicly." Trevor, the manager, tabled all enforcement actions. Marilyn's gavel struck hollow. The next day, the HOA website vanished. I filed a complaint with the state ombudsman, attaching everything. Neighbors began sharing stories. Mrs. Rayburn's folder, Jim's receipts showing double charges. The hearing was quiet but decisive. The ombudsman asked, "Can you prove HOA ownership of parcel 17B?" Marilyn's lawyer stammered, "We believe the deed is misplaced. You've collected dues, held meetings, issued fines on land you don't own. That's unlawful." He referred the case to the Attorney General. By the weekend, local news picked up the story. The HOA's insurer froze claims. The bank required dual signatures. The county ethics office launched an inquiry. The street changed. Neighbors cleaned up common areas on their own, the mood shifting from compliance to cooperation. Jenna called. "We could sue for damages." I shook my head. "I want rules, not revenge." We drafted a reform proposal: term limits, open portals, recorded meetings, ethics oversight. I offered the clubhouse parcel to the HOA for $1 if they adopted all reforms. They did. 187 out of 212 homeowners voted yes. We stood on the steps as the sun set, laughter ringing from the playground. Should redemption erase accountability? Or do we need both? Tell me below. That's how you build a fair community. Months later, the air in Ashbrook Commons felt lighter. The new newsletter listed reforms, not threats. Marilyn resigned, fined and barred from holding office. Trevor stayed on, emails now signed "Dear Neighbors." Lily and I mounted a plaque on the newly named community center. "This place belongs to everyone who respects it." Jim wandered over, grinned. "They're naming the picnic after your brother." Nice touch. The reforms stuck because they became structure, not just promises. Sometimes, I still glance toward the fence, expecting another violation slip. But all I see now is Lily's hydrangea bush, finally blooming. The ombudsman's last letter. All corrective measures complete. Case closed. I framed it, not as a trophy, but a reminder. Peace, once earned, is kept by vigilance. Final thought: if you've made it this far, every HOA, like every government, gets power from consent. Withdraw it, lawfully, and bullies lose their grip. If you think I fought the right way, let me know in the comments. Share this, not for me, but because someone out there is facing the same fight. Maybe this story will help them write their own ending. And remember, justice doesn't roar, it rustles, like paperwork in a quiet room. The best revenge? A neighborhood that doesn't need one.